Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Delaney and Lance are in the house. Welcome both. Let's break right to it. Huge article out of numerous sources on PPP fraud and investigations. And why this is important is for the first time we have a lender that has been identified as, quote, now one lender may finally face, I like that, finally face, as in we're delaying it, a legal reckoning, and the lender is Cabbage. We're going to talk about that, but first, go back to the poll, Joseph. That's fine. We'll do the poll first. What percentage of your PPP loans have been forgiven in your portfolio?
Well, and Bob, I don't want to give away the story, but one of the elements that I found quite interesting was the percentage of loans that have been forgiven.
Yeah, and of course, Lance is going off script. Hang on, Lance. Just relax. Delaney, what are the averages? What are the benchmarks?
Well, it is over 90% for 2020. I believe we're at 97% right now. 2021's lagging behind a little bit, of course. It's at about 85% roughly. And overall, we're at 90%, 95%.
So,
go ahead, Lance.
Honestly, guys, 2020, everybody should be in the upper 90s. Above 95%, you should be. The 2021, a lot of that, and in fact, by segue, we're doing a webinar next week about this, but a lot of those loans are just now getting to the point if they have not applied for forgiveness, they're going to have to make payments. And a lot of those people are just now getting statements. So not surprised that they're lagging behind, or 2021 is a lot less.
Lady, tell us about this chart. That's an eye-popping figure over there of $742 billion with a B. But what are the numbers? What are these numbers telling us?
So here it says that 91% of all of the different PPP loans have submitted forgiveness applications, and then 95% of the total money of PPP has been or has submitted a forgiveness application. Another interesting number down there, though, is that 4,700 lenders have requested PPP forgiveness for all loans.
I did not know that. By the way, these numbers come from SBA, Lance.
Well, I'm not surprised that every lender wants to complete the PPP forgiveness process. And a lot of it depends on how many loans that PPP loans that they actually have done and are servicing. And a lot of lenders did a few hundred. Some did a few thousand. So not surprised there are quite a large number that have fully completed the forgiveness process. Now, Bob, we did 300,000 loans, or we have 300,000 in our portfolio. We will still be working forgiveness, guaranteed purchase, and PPP servicing into 2023. Don't know how far into 2023, but we will still be working it then.
All right, I'm going to talk about what's going on with Cabbage. Lance, set it up. You've read this article, and the first thing I want to address is let's go back and do a little history lesson. When lenders were tasked or given the responsibility of dispersing PPP loans, there were very specific guidelines that they had to do. What were they?
Well, PPP had what we all know as the interim final rule. And it talked about what you had to do to originate and approve a PPP loan. And really important language in that interim final rule was the fact that a lender could rely on borrower certifications in the review and approval process. So a borrower completes the SBA Form 2483. They provide, in 2020, they actually had to provide some supporting documentation. And they did as well in 2021, but it was less information. But they provide the supporting information, and they check the boxes on the application properly, sign it. That's a borrower certification. So if they answer the questions correctly and provide the required information, the financial institution could then rely on the borrower's certification that that information is correct in determining eligibility.
My concern is this sentence. First of all, you understand the bias of the article, but it says, quote, hundreds of borrowers have been prosecuted for submitting fraudulent PPP applications, but few lenders have been held accountable for their role in approving these fraudulent loans. Well, what accountability is there, Lance?
Well, again, my concern in comments like that, the PPP loan program was designed to get a significant number of loans and assistance out to a significant number of small businesses. And there was a vast difference between 2020 and 2021, guys. 2020, there were more banks and non-bank lenders involved in 2020 who did a strong job of underwriting and vetting out PPP loans before they did them. 2021, on the other hand, was a different story. Congress, our president, the Treasury, they were all saying push, 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 push. We need to get more loans out to more individuals. We need to get more loans out to underserved markets. And as a result, Cabbage was one of the first so-called fintech type companies that SBA signed on, but then they signed on others. But they had to find ways to get the money out quickly.
We've had Senator Rubio on, and directly he said, hey, this was a crisis of epic proportions. And he was alluding to potentially civil unrest if the government didn't step up to help the America. And
well,
so,
the other thing about the article that I find interesting, Bob, is they have a PPP borrower who has committed fraud, has lied on their application, has provided false documentation, allegedly. Thank you, Delaney. I wouldn't say that if I had not heard you say that, but has provided false information, has lied on their application, and they flipped the script probably to get a lighter sentence by saying, hey, you know, this process allowed me to do that. Again, I'm pro-banker, pro-financial institution, obviously, but the rules said that we could rely on borrower certification. And if the borrower lies, Bob, it's on the borrower.
The filing came amid an effort by Cabbage to fend off a subpoena from federal prosecutors to testify in a PPP loan fraud case, saying, hey, we don't want to do this because the information could be used against us and could be an existential threat to Cabbage, Delaney. But there's still going to be the trial starting August 15th. What do we know about that, Delaney?
Well, so of course, like you said, they did not want to be involved in this due to their other two investigations. They've been going on for over a year. I love this quote from Ben Curtis, a former assistant chief of the Criminal Division Fraud Section at the Department of Justice. Anytime you have two U.S. attorneys' offices that have separately drawn the same inferences based on evidence that reached them from independent sources, it's not a really good sign.
Lance, I think is that a legal terminology, Lance? A really good, not a good sign?
That is high level. When you're in your second year of law school, Bob, they break that up. So.
Yeah, I think that's day one. Not a really good sign. Anyway, let's go to the charts, Delaney, and set us up for this. And this comes directly from SBA. What are the forgiveness charts? And go to the next slide, Joseph.
So the forgiveness charts show some of the biggest lenders for 2020 PPP, and most of them are above 90%, and that is not quite the case for Cabbage. They're sitting at 54% of all 2020 PPP loans being forgiven, so they're lagging far behind.
Joseph, do we have that chart? Did we do that for this show?
No.
No. No. All right. Well,
but that was in the article, Bob, and I think it was showing the pace of 2020 forgiveness, like Delaney said, and in most financial institutions that did participate in PPP are somewhere in the 95 to 98%.
Yeah, I'll read off the top 5. Bank of America, 91%. Chase, 95%. Wells Fargo, 93%. Celtic, 92. U.S. Bank, 93. TD Bank, 94. Branch Banking and Trust, 96. Web Bank, 91. So you have Zions, 93. Regis, 93. KeyBank, 97. ReadyCap, 97. So those are in line with industry averages. The problem is you have a couple of outliers. Cabbage, as you said, is 54%. There were some heartbreaking quotes in there of the borrowers. I guess the things just aren't being processed. And Lance, I think you can comment on that. Why would you have a lender? I mean, I understand what Cabbage is doing, but this one's a little hard to defend them. Why are they sitting at 54% for forgiveness?
Well, let's talk about what might make up in the 2020. Those loans are all due either for payments or guaranteed purchase. So a lender being at 93, 94, 95% makes sense because there are some borrowers who may want to make payments. There is a percentage of that group that are going to be guaranteed purchase submissions. There are also a percentage of the 2020 loans that are still under review by SBA. When I think about the 2020 portfolio I'm working on, we're in line with all the other lenders in terms of percentage, but we have X number that we've done guaranteed purchase. We have a handful of borrowers that we did a extension of maturity to the 5-year term and they're making payments. We have borrowers who are still under review or under appeal, one or the other, with SBA that are also in that group. So, I mean, there are a number of things that would cause you not to be at 100%. But guys, we have to face it. If they're in the 50s, there's something broken about their forgiveness process.
Yeah, they're the only one in the 50s. There's a couple lenders in the 70s, but they're definitely in the 50s.
Well, and even Bob, the direct forgiveness portal, I mean, any loan under $150,000 is simple and easy for the borrowers. And I forgot one category, guys, on the ones that keep you from getting to 100%. There's a certain percentage of PPP borrowers who are not going to apply for forgiveness, who are not going to make payments, who are not going to respond in any way, form, or shape, and those are the ones that become guaranteed purchases.
And they quoted, I don't know the accuracy of this reporting, but this is what the article says. A Miami hairdresser said, it's been ridiculous. I don't have a banker on my side. I've struggled for months to get my loan forgiven. Delaney, what was her loan balance?
Just over $3,000.
So Bob, why is she, well, and here becomes a great question. Is Cabbage using the direct portal? Because the $3,000 loan doesn't have to go through their portal. It could go through SBA's direct portal. That borrower could submit their application today and probably be approved for forgiveness by Monday.
And Lance, go over it again. And a $3,000 loan, how much information does the borrower need to give to the lender?
For forgiveness, they can go to directforgiveness.sba.gov, answer 3 or 4 questions, do a couple of drop-down menu selections, submit it, e-sign it, it goes to the lender who can click a button and approve it, and then SBA normally approves those in a matter of 24 to 36 hours. So the point being, they must not be participating in the direct.
We're speculating. I'm going to put Lance out on a limb on that limb. You're
speculating. I said they must not, Bob.
All right, there you go. Delaney, I'm going to ask you a question you can't answer because we don't know the answer, but this is code and we're going to try to figure it out. So back to the original question is, what is Cabbage under investigation for? And quote, the company self-reported in their filings that the East Texas Court Justice Department attorney there is investigating the adequacy of Cabbage's fraud and anti-money laundering controls in the same time frame. What does that mean, Delaney? I know you don't know the answer. I'll let you.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you're throwing. All I can assume is that they were allegedly not doing the proper checks, letting borrowers slip by who probably did not have all the adequate.
Yeah, that's a broad statement, Lance, and I assume we're going to get more and more information. But what is your first take on that?
Well, my big point in this, and again, guys, I'm not trying to get the Cabbage flag and wave it in the air, but I've even heard SBA people say this. Regulations and rules related to PPP with SBA, it's like they're flying a plane and trying to repair the plane or build the plane as they're flying it.
Yeah, trying to figure out how to land it after it's up in the air. Yeah, yeah.
We had change after change after change that we had to deal with in the PPP loan program. Another interesting example, it's like the prosecutors and SBA are trying to push it off on a lender, but one great example, there are multiple instances in PPP lending where a borrower got more than 2 PPP loans. And in those circumstances, they want to push back to the lender and say, hey, how could they get 3 PPP loans? Well, I have the same question for SBA and everyone else. How could you approve in your system 3 PPP loans to the same borrower? I don't know.
Well, I'm not, and now we normally don't like to speculate, but now we're down the rabbit hole, so might as well. Look, from what I understand of this, Lance, is the PPP program gave lenders liability from a lot of, shielded them from liability for this. And that's why it's interesting that they're not talking about the PPP regulations. They're talking about broader money laundering and things like that, as opposed to activities related to PPP loan fraud. So they're going about it through a back door. So anyway, fascinating case.
Well,
we're going to follow this very, very closely, obviously, because the problem is, Lance, what they do with this lender can potentially boil over to everyone else.
Well, I'm not picking on my friends at SBA. Of course, I work there, and I know they do a great job. But I just think when you have, we're starting to get the fraud stories, and everybody's wanting to point a finger at somebody. And it was a process of getting a significant amount of money into small business owners' hands quickly. So there was going to be some fraud.
I knew my history degree would come into play one day, but hey, we cannot forget the context that this was only 2 years ago of what was happening. And it was major, major crisis. And we were all concerned what was going on and how quickly we forget. But the goal was, let's get the money out the door. And as you said, we can build the landing gear while the plane's up in the air. Anyway, final thought, Delaney, what's your take on all this, and where's your reporting going to take us in the future?
I'm definitely going to be following this very closely. It's quite interesting. There's a number of different legal actions going on, even beyond what we talked about. So I would recommend people read the article and learn themselves.
And follow Coleman's Fraud Friday, which, by the way, we are launching a podcast. Joseph, do we have the link up to that? Or do we have it? Hey, we got a thumbnail. We're going to be doing that. That's a separate than what this is. It's through YouTube. Just Google. How do you search a YouTube, Delaney? Help me out here. I'm too old for this stuff.
Yeah, I would just Google YouTube.
Oh, is that it? Okay. Just Google Fraud Friday. Sign up for that. I guess the play on this is we want to get subscribers and get that. And this is going to be more of a broader base offering to talk. It's going to be more broader based than just strictly for lenders. So Delaney and Lance were in it, and you guys look very good. Hey, I think we'll cut it off at that. We have some other fraud stories. We'll let it go. We have Lance's PPP webinar. We'll push that on Monday. Thank you very much. Fascinating. We'll talk about it. And thank you for joining us today for Coleman Report Live of Supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great weekend.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you for joining us today for today's episode. If you like today's content, hit that subscribe button to subscribe to our channel and click that bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. Thank you again for joining us today and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time. Catch you next time.